What is happening, post shifters? I know it's a little bit odd because I'm just tweaking some stuff right now. I know it's a little bit odd that it's a Thursday afternoon and I'm sort of just hanging out. And that came about, I just suppose I don't even need my headphones because I'm not talking to anyone. That came about, I had a bit of a scheduling issue this week with a very good guest that I'm looking forward to having on very, very shortly. February's been tough because obviously everybody came back to work in January and it's sort of been hard to like nail people down. But my schedule is sort of piecing together off the side here. So what I did is instead of like just not putting out an episode, I thought, fuck it, let's do a live stream. Oh, God. Sorry. Let's do a live stream. I've got a lot of new listeners and I was thinking like, let's do getting to know me while I drink some cognac. And if you've got any questions, I've got 10 questions I'm going to ask myself just about my life and how I got to this place of being a podcaster and a consultant and an industry person and so on and so forth. And so let's sort of get into it. Firstly, let's taste some cognac. I just released today's cognac hunter video. I'm just going to zip over here and do this. This cognac hunter. So this week I actually tasted the Frappin 15. This is a banger bottle. An absolute banger bottle. Frappin 15, 45%. So it's cask strength, which is fantastic. You don't get a lot of cask strength cognacs ever. It's 100% Grand Champagne, minimum 15 years. So it's an XXO. And it just is stunning. Like if you're going to pay a couple $100 for a bottle of like old cognac, this is the one to do it with. So as I'm asking questions and drinking cognac, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this regularly. I might, you never know. Man, I need a fucking beard trim. But I needed to put an episode out for tomorrow. I didn't want to let anyone hang. So I thought I'd write myself a couple of questions and walk myself through my own life for you, the listener or the watcher. So let's taste the Frappin first. Frappin 15, Grand Champagne, XXO. Absolutely spectacular. I feel like I shouldn't be starting with this one, though. I should be starting lighter and going to heavier. So let's just put that one aside for a second. I've got 6 in front of me. I'm not going to try and taste all 6. Let's start with the Bachet Gaberson Trade Course. Beautiful VS. Heavy Finois blend. Obviously 2 to 4 years old. Absolutely spectacular. We're going to start off a lighter little niche. And let's ask my first question to myself. This is a little bit like weird interviewing style, but I know that I've got a lot of new listeners and a lot of new watchers and a lot of new followers, so I wanted to sort of reintroduce myself. I'm a hospitality consultant based here in Victoria, BC, Canada, so the far, far west coast. I usually say Vancouver, but no one knows Victoria too much, so Vancouver's a nice little breastpoint. We're on an island off the coast of Vancouver. Very small town, city that I've been here for 20 years, and I absolutely fucking love. And I've been lucky enough to be ingrained here in a fantastically hospitable and collaborative community in the hospitality industry here in Victoria that not many people have the opportunity to experience in their lifetime. They might have a collaborative circle or that sort of thing, but like Victoria is one of those places that are 100% collaborative in such a way. So I started my early journey on hospitality, actually not in hospitality. I haven't got a romantic story like a lot of people that sort of like say, oh, well, my dad owned a liquor store, or my dad owned a bar and my grandfather owned a bar and he was a bartender. Mine came out of just pure necessity. I got kicked out of home at 18 and I had to get a job. And so I got a job as a maintenance worker at a hotel, like a handyman, junior handyman as it was. And one night the food and beverage manager came to me. He's like, do you have black and whites? We're short. Do you want to work a wedding? And I worked that wedding, and that was the kickoff for me in the hospitality industry. And that was the one that like it bit me hard. It bit me really, really hard. And I really look back at those days and go, man, I was like smitten with the industry. But my upbringing was my dad was ex-military. My upbringing was very nurturing, but like nature and nurture, I suppose. You really had to like fight for everything that you needed to get. I didn't grow up too well off or anything like that. We moved a lot. I went to 14 different schools in 12 years. I remember going to schools for like 2 weeks in between, like my dad getting a job and stuff like that. But it built my resilience up to, I think, take on that. And my dad always used to say, and I've said this in seminars, and if you've ever watched any episodes, my dad always said, regardless of what you do, be the best at it. And my mum always said, regardless of how good you get, someone's always out there ready to be better. And so I sort of have this moment of like trying to push myself as hard as I can in everything I do. Unfortunately, that can bite you in the ass. Sometimes I'm back at the gym, which has not been the most enjoyable thing. It's not something I really, really love. But I know it's something that makes me feel really good. So with that sort of like background of my upbringing, getting kicked out of home, sleeping on couches of friends, and then finally getting a job and sort of making my way up, that's kind of how my origin story happens. Oh man, the Bache VS is just a fantastic little number. Great price point too. It really is something you really should think about buying. If you see it on the shelf, grab it. It's a great cocktail mixer as well. Light, expressive. Oh, just beautiful, like bouquets and bouquets and bouquets and bouquets of fresh fruit, skin, pit, everything. It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I really love this one, and I've been trying to make VS cool again. Do you remember the very first moment you realized you'd need to work for everything you wanted, and how that shape your relationship with effort, money, and accountability? Wow. I asked ChatGPT to ask these questions for me because it's listened to everything I've done. And I never wanted to be one of those podcasters that do the offside shot, looking like they talk to someone, and they're not. They're just like dictating the same thing. I never wanted to do a show where I was like on a podcast that I'm not on. It's actually my podcast. So this is way easier. My relationship with work was always tough because I grew up, again, working for the family business since I was 13. That would entail working in the morning, going to school, coming home, changing, going to work in the evening, doing your homework in the truck, and then sleeping, doing the same thing the next day, and then on the weekends you work a lot. So my work ethic has always been like very ingrained in me. To sacrifice a lot. My father sacrificed a lot for his family. My mother sacrificed a lot for the family. These sort of elements of sacrifice when you're not rich, when you're really fucking broke and you've got a lot of mouths to feed, like sacrifice is something you have to, it's ingrained in you. You need to do it. Otherwise, there's no food on the table. I've known plenty of times when my dad was unemployed and eating porridge for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and my mum mixing powdered milk in with water to make the milk last longer. So relationship with effort and work ethic and those effort and work ethic is something that's just been ingrained with me since I was 13. And it's something that I think that I struggle with now in my 40s because I feel like I should be taking a step back. And I remember my dad in his 40s, he was still working as hard. So I had this unhealthy relationship with work ethic, and I think I'm gaining the reins on it now a little bit. Thank you to my wife and my daughter. You know, there's something to be said about work ethic until your daughter at 12 says, "Hey, I want you around more," and you're just like, "Oh, god damn, fuck yes, I'll be around more." Holy shit! Listen, if you're watching and you want to ask any questions, I'm going to spot between Instagram and that. Thanks, Cal. I appreciate that. Callum, one of my trainers, is in the Instagram chat giving me props about the gym because I have been stepping it up pretty hard. Bache Gabrielson, man. That is just a money fucking brand. Oh, give me some sponsorship. So, as I was saying, I got my first job at a hotel. I was like the weird country barefoot kid because I grew up in the country, didn't wear really shoes till I was 18. If I could take my shoes off, even when I was like working, I'd be fucking kicking my shoes off like barefoot every moment I could possibly get. And so I'd be the weird kid, like climbing up shit and like untangling lights off palm trees and washing windows barefoot, hanging out the side of the building and stuff. Super not WCB, but it was 1997, 1998, and it like literally it didn't matter. But it was an interesting point, and like that wedding like sort of really got me going. Then I sort of like was like, oh, I'll show up early, work for free. I showed up early and I started working in the kitchen, like prepping, dishwashing, flipping stuff for breakfast. Then I'd do my job all day, and then I'd stay late and I'd hang out in the bar and I'd work in the bar and I'd bar back and I'd make cocktails. And that was like it was, I don't know what it was. It was just a absolute like spark in me because I never had hospitality. Like I never went to restaurants as a kid. We lived in the country, so like I remember going to my first restaurant at like 17. Never went to restaurants as a kid, and so it was this weird entanglement about like people seeing you as something special when you're behind the bar and like ooh and ahhing. And I think maybe that was that big family, poor kid sort of mentality of like, oh, people are paying attention to me because I'm doing something fucking cool. And so that was like the spark that sort of started it. And then, like, fast forward a little bit. I'm going to not fast forward yet because I've got another pour to go. Gautier. I've done this all on the show. If you go to Cognac Hunter on Instagram, all my videos are up there. CognacHunter.com. It's all there. Reviews, where to buy it, that sort of stuff. Gautier VS, another really nice VS. Fantastic Grand Champagne, Petit Champagne. Great little number. But the real kicker for me when it came to hospitality is my parents were always entrepreneurs. We always owned our own business. And my dad worked really hard to get that business, like really hard. I remember years and years of no babysitter and being sitting in the car while my dad and my mum were in banks and like government grants and all these sort of things to get our first truck. And then that first truck led to another truck and doing the turf. And like, so I remember my dad being always entrepreneurial, and he, looking back now, wow, just now just like sitting here, like thinking about it. My dad was entrepreneurial because he didn't want to work for anyone else because his standards, other people's standards, didn't meet his. And man, in the last year, that has dawned on me hard that my biggest mental health oomph is not having a workplace that shares my same mentality towards high standards. And so once we got the truck and that sort of an entrepreneurial thing sort of kicked in for me at the hotel when I started working there. So I started doing food and beverage more and more, got away from the handyman stuff, was doing a bit of both. Like I'd take a suit into work and wear a suit at night and work during the day. Working 18 hours was kind of what I did as a kid. So it was never really something that was weird for me. But it was like that entrepreneurial spirit of like, how do we get more people into the hotel? How do we get more weddings? And so I started on Saturdays, like looking through Saturday papers and like looking at all, because before the internet, like looking at all the wedding announcements in the paper and then tracking them down in the white pages. So like that week after that wedding announcement, you would get a wedding package from us shipped directly to your door saying, hey, you should have your wedding here. And we tripled our wedding business in a matter of a couple of months because we were the first people that people touched. And so that entrepreneurial spirit sort of like really led to me. Like I had my own company by the time I was in my 20s. I had a landscaping company, so I took over my family's business and now that. And so it just led to me to this sort of drive. And I think if you've got that drive to like not necessarily not work for someone and not be under like the corporate thumb, but like that drive to like be independent, but self-guiding independence, which is the hardest thing when you're an entrepreneur. It's really hard to come and sit in this office and be by yourself 8 hours of the day when you've got no meetings and maybe a Zoom here or a phone call here. So it's really tough to like be an entrepreneur, like pushing yourself through this. And so I think that's where my brain sort of clicked in. I was like, I can apply the stuff that I've learned as a kid, watching my dad and my mom run their businesses. Like the biggest thing, like I'm really reminiscing right now. A lot of people haven't heard these stories. And I hope that if you're listening to this, that you stay on and keep listening, because my mom and dad bought a cheap printer designed like, again, back when there was the 286 Macintoshes, and like they were designed flyers, fold them up, put them through the door. So the first thing those customers, when they wanted landscaping, they'd go to every single place. And our business was very, very good. Our business was very, very good and very, very profitable. And that's the reason why it was, is that they were so personable, and they drove around. Like if we had a quiet month, it would be a week of them driving around, putting these flyers out, and they were cheap, like Yellow Pages style flyers under the door instead of in the letterbox. My dad would have booties so that he wouldn't muddy up the driveway or anything like that. It was kind of just incredible, that the amount of influence, now that I'm thinking back, of how much influence my parents had on me growing up, that has inspired my entrepreneurial journey now. So for those tuning in, we're tasting the Gautier VS. Again, I want to go against, I'm sort of like going to be bouncing around. So if you don't like me bouncing around, you want me to stay on topic, too bad. This is my live stream tonight. So the Gautier VS, fantastic little number. I want people to start going away from the big four. So the big four is Hennessy, Remy, Courvoisier, and Martell. Nothing wrong with those four brands. I got no problems with the big four brands at all. Big four brands are fantastic. They have their place. They control somewhere between 75 to 85% of the total global market of cognac is sold by those four houses. There is another 260 plus houses, Gautier, Frappin, Bachet, that chop up the rest of that market. So if you go to the store, you love cognac, please try something brand new, out of the ordinary, and I promise you'll love it. There's no bad cognacs out there. Personally, they can't be, because there's so much structure to them. There's no bad cognacs. Anyway, Gautier. Oh, creamy. It's almost like a poached pear with creme fraiche. Oh, so fucking good. Gautier VS, get some. What was a mistake that I'd made in my journey that I look back now and wish that I'd sort of nailed in earlier? The way I talk to people, the way I communicate, and the way I talk to people. I grew up, like I said, ex-military father. And I think the biggest mistake I made getting into like a leadership role was thinking that that's the way leaders talk. My father was a massive mentor for me during my upbringing, for good and bad. But the biggest one was that the way he talked to people was so direct and very blunt, and the way that he led my brothers and my family in the business was very direct and blunt, very military style. It was a lot. And so my biggest mistake in the industry coming up was not listening sooner and having a bit of an ego, and thinking that sort of military boom, 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 boom mentality was very like, that's the way it's got to be. So, and I've changed a lot in the last 25 years or 20 years I've been here in Canada. Definitely in Australia, I was definitely still like that. Like, fucking do what I say, that sort of thing. I've definitely learned to like soften that up quite a lot. Oh, Gautier. That's just beautiful. But I think that's my big thing, is I'm going to put an episode out fairly sure about evolution of leadership and mentorship, because I think as leaders and mentors, it's our responsibility to be more pragmatic at changing for our staff and for our people. And that's a really big thing for me. So again, if you're tuning in just now, I'm written down 10 questions. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I'm tasting some cognac, so you get to learn who I am through cognac. We're going to do the Biscuit de Bush. We did this last week on the show. Fantastic little VSOP. I've worked across multiple venues, roles, markets. What patterns did you start noticing early on? What about some teams thrive and others quietly fall apart? Oh, that's a big one. I think teams thrive with transparency. I think that's the big thing, is that teams thrive with transparency from their leadership. And that can go either way. Sometimes teams don't want to hear about your if you're having issues. They just want you to be that like leader with minimal emotion, which is a horrible thing to say. But I think transparency in talking to staff the way you want them to see you is going to make your team a lot stronger. And I mean that because if you lead by transparency, that means that you don't have drama because you see drama and you're like, nope, you can't do that. Sorry, you can't do that here. You need to step it up. And so I think that's a hard one, is the transparency thing. I think that's the key. So if you feel like you've got enough transparency with your team, that's great. But I think if you sit down with your key people and really have a frank talk, and this is the thing, is like I have so many managers and owners go, well, I don't want to have a frank talk like that with my senior management. I'm like, do you want to lose your business? And they're like, well, no, I don't want to do that either. I'm like, well, you've got to do one or the other. You've got to have these frank, transparent talks with your staff and with your management on a regular basis, or losing your business is the least of your fucking problems. And that's really fucking true. Like I hear about like, oh, training's too expensive. Do you want to lose your business? Well, no. Like anything that you as an owner can come up with like for a reason not to do something, always preface it with like, or is it easier than lose my business? Do I talk to Chef because he's being a dick? Or is it easier to lose my business? And I think that's where you got to sort of like realign your perspective on owning a business and owning a restaurant, because that's the fucking worst thing that could possibly happen. The worst thing that could possibly happen is you lose your fucking business. And that's not a great thing. That is not a good thing at all. Like losing your business like takes a lot. Rick Dobbs out of San Francisco, he just did an amazing article about one of the bars he just had to close because of his rent going up, and just you push as far as you can push. And it was open and honest and transparent and inspiring. And Rick, I highly doubt that you are way too cool to be listening to my podcast or tuning into my live stream, but absolutely sensational openness and candor when it comes to losing your fucking business. Because as hospitality people, I've said it a million times, we are passionate people. We want to please people. We want to keep people happy. That's why we usually let bad staff like drag out quite badly. But when we lose that, it's a different feeling than if a tech bro lost his tech company, or I might not, I shouldn't probably can example this out. Like you just do it for a different reason than money. And that's a very hard thing to quantify when you lose that, because it feels like it's a bit of a piece of you. Like losing Little Jumbo, I lost a little piece of myself. It's a little piece, and I've filled that up with a little expanding foam, but I lost a little piece myself. Losing FTW, I lost a pretty decent sized piece of myself. And when you build something with bricks and mortar and you lose something, you can never really fill that in the same way with the same strength. And so you sort of got to adapt and you sort of overcome. But yeah, that's a story for another. Well, it's a story for now. So Biscuit and Debush. This is a fantastic little unknown like house. They don't get enough love here in Canada. I don't think they get enough love any. Actually, everything I have on my desk right now does not get enough love in Canada at all. It needs more love, and so it's one of those things that you really need to like look into. I'm just looking at my phone real quick because I can do this. Because this is the thing, is I'm going to try and start doing more live streams that are just chill. I do stuff that's really like constraint and focused, and like my guests and everything. I'm just going to try and do some more chilled live streams and see how that plays out, because you just never know. This is a VSOP. This one really caught me because it leans more into like fruity and then goes into like coffee, chocolates, husky, earthy sort of tones, which is really, really unique. A lot of these don't have have minimal additives to it, and cognac additives are something I really want to speak more of in 2026 because it's got a little bit insane. Oh, mon ami, mon ami, mon ami. Oh, Biscuit and Debush. Again, if you go to your store, you go to your local liquor store and you look in the shelves and it's Cavossier, Remy, Hennessy, And down the bottom, it's a little bottle of cognac that you've never tried before. Trust me, it's going to be worth it. There is no such thing as bad cognac, in my opinion. And that's not because I love cognac, because the rules are so strict. You can't make a bad cognac. You can't, like, I don't believe in the realm of the yeast strains and the aging and everything. You can make a bad cognac. So we're doing a little bit of VSOP. Let's talk about burnout in the industry. When did you first feel it personally, and what did you force to confront it? Jesus, ChatGPT is doing me dirty tonight. There's a lot to talk about burnout in the hospitality. When did you personally feel it, and what did it force you to confront about your own limits and blind spots? These are deep fucking questions, people. I can't believe, AI, it has scrubbed everything, every little word, every little video clip, every little soundbite. Let's talk about burnout. Burnout's a very personal thing, just like work-life balance. I think if you did a teeter-totter or a scale, work-life balance is on this side, burnout's on this side. Burnout's a very personal thing, and I used to be an absolute dick about it. Again, ex-military background, bringing up. I used to be a dick about it. I'm gonna fucking be honest about it. Now I look at people who really have really great work-life balance, and I'm like, jealous. I'm freaking just jealous about work-life balance, because I wish that I could switch off. I wish that I could sit on the couch for a whole day, or I wish I could sleep in and then sit on the couch all day and not feel guilty at the end of it all. There's a whole psychological thing about it, and we're not doing Dear Judy or whatever it is, the old radio psychologist. Oh, I'm not going to do a Frasier. I'm not going to do a Frasier tonight. So, burnout in the hospitality industry is real. It is something that exists because we're in a pressure cooker in a way that most jobs don't have. So if you've got a lot of work to do and you're an office job, now I'm going to compare to office jobs. I don't want anyone jumping down my throat saying, well, you have no idea what office job is, because I've never been in a cubicle. You get pressure in an office job, but then you have to be nice to guests who are paying you like money. You're behind in the kitchen, behind the bar, you're making cocktails. You have people that, especially in this day and age, are a little bit more entitled. Burnout is very real in the hospitality industry, and it's something that we need to take very seriously. I'm really stoked that I had Chris Hall on the show last week for Burnt Chef Project, because some of the stuff he said was it just really hit me really hard. And I really love the fact that he was like hospitality industry adjacent, and he saw how bad our industry treated our people. But I'm happy working 10, 11, 12-hour days. That's just me. I can do that 6 days a week. I really try to have my Sundays off. It's something that I've tried very hard post-pandemic. Since coming back from Singapore, my daughter was 9 when I went to Singapore. I was gone for 6 months. I only saw my family for 3 months, came back for a month, worked that month because I was me. Well, I was old me. And then went away for another 3 months. And my daughter and my wife during the pandemic really showed me what I've been missing out on for a decade. And so I am happy to go as hard as I can for 6 days a week, as long as my Sunday is my special day where I sleep in, I get breakfast with my wife, I play video games, I do yard work, I go for a drive, I detail my car. I try and just have a day that's just me, not hospitality based. So when it comes to burnout, if you feel it, understand that when you're feeling like you push yourself too far, you could probably go another 10%. And that 10% is that special spot where you know your limit. It's like weightlifting. Like, I'm going to use a gym analogy because I'm back at the gym for now. If Callum and that are still listening, I'm sorry. For now, I'm going to do it. But like every time I go back to the gym, do the same exercise, I want to go 10% harder. I want to go higher weights. I want to do more reps. I want to push myself that little bit more. So it's something you got to train. And the thing with burnout, I think, is the biggest issue with most venues is that we don't have enough systems in the industry. And those systems then lead to staff burnout. If you have really gangster systems, really gangster training in your bar or restaurant, you're going to minimize burnout from your staff. You're going to minimize strain on your staff. And that is a big, big thing. That's what I would be saying, is that if you're seeing that your staff have a massive rollover, turnover, and you're having real issues with burnout in your industry, whether it's your managers saying they're burnt out, so on and so forth, be very mindful of it and understand where they might be sitting. I champion 4-day weeks. I champion like a 9-hour, 4-day week so that you can still get your hourly wage in and you can still have 3 days off a week and you can relax. I'm trying to be better at not bothering my staff. But I think that's the thing is like, it's a little bottom up, top down. So top down is system, over systemize everything down to like, what should the hostess be doing or host be doing when people walk in? What is the sequence of service to the table? That will take away stress. Systems are not a stress takeawayers. I'm gonna TM that. Stress takeawayers. But I think that's the big key. And then again, goes back to that transparency, management meetings, having conversations. How are you feeling? Understanding, pushing people a little bit as well. People always want to like go back to like one step, but like if you want to get better, you do have to push yourself that little bit more, that one more step, that one more rep, that 2 more hours. But that would be my key to that. Biscuit and Debush. So this is the cognac I'm tasting right now. We've tasted a few tonight. I'm checking around like a little interesting live stream sort of vibe right now. I'm not sure if this is going to continue on or what I'm going to do yet. But this is a beautiful VSOP. Oh, it's really funky on the nose. I put $10 down. This is distilled on Lee's. It's got fruity notes. It's got this really earthy, barky sort of vibe to it, which I really think is a really good structure. This would be a really good old-fashioned vibe. Ooh, that's very good. What are we doing next? Let's change up with this one. So we're going to change up to another cognac, but there's I've always been known for systems, training, and structure. But was there a moment where chaos or failure made you realize that winging it wasn't sustainable? Oh, again, fucking ChatGPT is doing me dirty. Yes, I can tell you this moment exactly to the T, to the point. When we opened up Little Jumbo, I brought my right hand from Clive's Nate over to Little Jumbo to be my bar manager. And I spent a lot of time on manuals and I really knuckled down the manuals for Little Jumbo. Like people walked in and you had a whole package and it was great. But it wasn't until we started getting bartenders behind the bar and I realized that everybody's recipes were different. And so we went to this massive like thing of some assuming you're going to make an ass out of you and me. We went and like I spent a bit of a couple $100 on like doing all these classics. So we took 100 classics and we had the house recipes that Nate and I had built over 4 years at Clive's. And we had three or four other bartenders and we went through every house recipe. And if someone was like, I got another recipe, we made those cocktails and then tasted them side by side and then voted on them and built out the recipes. And so this is sort of our collaborative sort of element, but it was in that moment that I realized that not everybody's going to do it the same way. And if you collaborate, my rule of thumb for everything, service, hospitality, table settings, everything is my way right now, but my way could change if you can help me, if you can change my mind. And I'm very open to changing things. I've changed recipes, I've changed specs, I've changed the way I do stuff. Again, changed the way I speak to people based on younger generations telling me, hey, you should be doing it this way. And I think as a leader and a mentor, you need to like evolve to that. And so that's where systems training and structure is so important. And so many people wing it thinking that, oh, well, such and such, we just hired her or him and they're going to host or serve or bus or bartend. They know how to do it. And you do a 1-day training and then off they go. And then they sort of do an okay job at hostess and busing. And all of a sudden we lose a server. Oh, there'll be a server now. 1-day training, off they go. And it's assumption of like passing on of knowledge verbally or visually that doesn't make sense anymore. Like, have a thing. Like, I know it sounds rudimentary. I know it does, but have a laid out plan on how people should do everything in your space. Everything. Washing dishes. I don't care. Hey, ChatGPT, write me a one-page description on how to wash dishes in my restaurant. Pass it on the dishwasher. This is how we do it. We spray it down. We scrub it. We do this, because that's where accountability falls into play. Again, what we were just talking about before takes the stress out of it. So there's that, my winging story. Let's taste the Camus VSOP. Is it Elegance? Elegance. This is a great little number. I love Camus. I visited this one very first trip to Cognac, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful little number. Just a beautiful number. Beautiful VSOP. You start getting those sort of deeper notes, and I think I talked about today is like Cognac and most spirits should always have like a baseline that every house should sort of has, is this like baseline of flavor profile, and then every expression just runs up and down from that flavor profile. And I've tasted so many that I'm that's Camus. Oh, that's Voyeur. That is fantastic. Get yourself, like, this is a great bottle. If you can get it. Great little number. When I look back at my evolution from bartender to educator, consultant, and voice in the industry, what skills mattered far more than talent or creativity? Ooh, consistency builds culture, not creativity. I did a seminar and a training session at Phillips on Monday, and this is one of my biggest things, is that consistency rules over everything. And consistency is just not for cocktails or food or ambience. It is everything. Consistency has to apply to everything. If I told the crowd right now, like, how many places have you gone to where you go, oh, you only go on Thursday night because such and such is working, and that's when the cocktails are really good. That is not consistent business. And as a business owner, you should be striving for consistency over all else. This is super important, and I really want people to understand this. Consistency rules above all else. Period. Full stop, period, exclamation point, exclamation point. There's a reason why McDonald's and the franchise rep Moxie's, Milestones, because you go in and it's consistent. Their training is in depth. If the food's always comes out the way, consistency. I can't scream that enough. The Camus VSOP, man, it's just so fucking delicious. I don't have a huge amount of people listening or watching, which is completely fine. But if you've got a question and you want to, like, throw it out there for me to answer, if you've got a little question, just throw it out there. I'm not going to put you up on the screen. I'm not going to call you out for it. Just let me know. It's the last question. Is if someone's listening right now who's earlier in the hospitality journey, overworked, underpaid, unsure if this injury is worth it, what do you wish someone had told you at that stage? Oh my God. ChatGPT doing me dirty for every single question tonight. Let me do that again. If someone is listening right now who is earlier in their hospitality journey, they're overworked, underpaid, unsure if the industry is worth it, what do you wish someone had told you at that stage? How much fish do you eat on a yearly basis? Actually, like a good slab of salmon. Salmon's delicious. Like, I had salmon yesterday on a salad. I think salmon, just because coming from Australia, we don't have like salmon to eat. Like, I love barramundi and Australian fish and whitefish, deep fried, that sort of thing. But a crispy skinned salmon with a salad or rice is spectacular. But back to the last question. If someone is listening right now who is earlier in the industry, if someone is listening right now who is earlier in their hospitality journey, overworked, underpaid, unsure if this industry is worth it, what do you wish someone had told you at that stage? I'm always overworked, underpaid, and not sure if this industry is worth it. Oh, I shouldn't say. It is a funny, funny anecdote because like there has been times in the last like 5 years that I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? Is this something that is like is my like thing? Is this the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life? And I look back, and this is really honest. Like, if I look back and I see what this industry has given me, um, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have come to Canada if it wasn't for this industry. I wouldn't have met my wife if it wasn't for this industry. I wouldn't have traveled all over the world and met such amazing people and producers and experienced just sheer beauty of artisans making stuff like tequila or cognac or mezcal or bourbon or anything. Like I don't I think I'm blessed that and grateful that I've been doing this for this long, and this industry has given me this podcast, and it's given me this podcast, and it gives me an opportunity to like sit down with people who I from afar and maybe not even reached out to and like told how much of an inspiration they are, and those people then become good friends that I can text on a regular basis, and when I have a rough day I can like reach out and say, hey, I love you, and get a response. And I think if you are feeling like overworked and underpaid and unsure if this industry is worth it, everything you do in life is always going to be what you put out there in life. And this industry can be hard and soul sucking and extremely difficult to keep relationships and everything else. But I feel there's small slithers of moments where it just gives you absolutely everything you ever wanted. And that's profound in what we do in life. Like I could be sitting in a cubicle, as a salesperson and making good money and going home miserable at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But I have the opportunity to fly to France this year and go to a bunch of cognac distilleries. And I look at that and I'm like, damn, okay, well, I know what I'm choosing. I get an opportunity to hang out with some of the coolest people in the world and connect with people who I revere and like see as mentors. I don't think there's not a lot of industries in the world that have the depth of mentorship and the depth of like people you can really look up to and aspire to as we do in the industry, whether that be beer tenders or cocktail bartenders or flair tenders or chefs or like there's a myriad of things that if you really like tap in and like give yourself to it. And I think that's the hard thing is like the industry is going to be hard, but if you give yourself to it, it will pay you back tenfold. Like I'm sitting here drinking amazing cognac, and I never thought 10 years ago when I went to cognac, or geez, longer than that now, 15 years ago, the first time I went to cognac, I'd be in the position I'm in right now. I look back 5 years ago and I don't see me being in the position I am right now. I don't like, if you're young in the industry, just remember you're young. I remember being 21, 22, starting the industry. I came to Canada at 26. I look back at what I was doing at 26, which is only 20 years ago, which is not that long. And the stuff that I've done, if I listed it all, it would blow your mind. And I think that's the thing is if you really want this industry to be just like anything in life, if you want this industry to be that thing for you, that true thing for you, it will give you everything back tenfold. It's going to be hard, and there will be sacrifices, but at the end of the day, it will give you back a lot. It will give you back a hell of a lot. Like you go to your first tails and experience your first tails, your first PDX cocktail week. That is profound. It is profound. The last cognac before I finish up tonight is the Frappin 15, which is what I poured at the very first start. So it's a nice little segue to finish it all up. this one I reviewed today on the Cognac Hunter, cognachunter.com. You can purchase my courses, purchase swag, learn about cognac all you want. Oh, this is fantastic. It's an XXO. So XXO came in 2018 when XO went down to 10 years old. XXO is 14 years old now. So this is minimum 15. So it's an XXO. The price point was fantastic. If you're in Victoria, it's at vintage. The thing I love about this, it's all that cigar box, old books, very Ron Burgundy style, like descriptors. And then it just explodes with this bright, beautiful fruit. It's just not one-dimensional, like age. It still showcases Frappens, Grand Champagne vineyards in such a way that I just can't describe. It's this beautiful, like fresh fruit, stewed fruit, poached fruit, still fresh and bright, but it's got this beautiful, like cigar box, library book, like down below. Just fantastic. So guys, I want to say thank you very much. Put it in, like, hit me up, drop me a DM. I've been thinking about doing like a Friday night happy hour, which might be tough when I have a big project. Maybe a Sunday afternoon happy hour where I sit down with brand ambassadors and we taste through a bunch of stuff and like explore their brands in depth. I did one, which I didn't keep going with it. I did it on a Friday night with the legendary Dave Mitten. But let me know, because I can do a lot of stuff. I can do tequila, mezcal. I can do a lot of cool stuff. And if you're interested, drop me a DM or a comment on this. I'd love to get your feedback. I hope that this episode, while it's a bit of a chaotic cognac / get to know me sort of mentality, I really wanted to like make sure I had an episode for tomorrow and have some content, because I'm trying to be uber consistent with that. That's why I brought back the post-shift shot, which I'm going to structure up a little bit more next week. So sometimes I get a little scattered, and that doesn't help with everything. But yeah, like hit me up and let me know if you think that I should do a sort of like live stream tasting Sunday afternoon chill session, because I kind of feel like that's something I'd like to do, and just drink a bunch of like good whiskeys or cognacs or tequilas or mezcals or bourbons or whatever with people. Yeah, I think I've got a couple of people in mind for mezcal, Kathy. Just answering a comment on the thing, guys. Thank you as always for the support. I'm having a really good time doing the cognac, doing the seminars, doing the podcast, doing the cognacs, doing the seminars and trainings. I'm just enjoying everything when it comes to the podcast this year, and I just want to step it up a little bit and just give you guys what you want. And so mezcal, definitely there's a something coming down the line that I need to deal with when it comes to mezcal and tequila. So I can't say much more about that, but you'll hear about it soon. Guys, thanks as always, thank you so much for the support, and I appreciate you watching. Have a good Thursday night, and I'll see you soon. Bye. All right, post shifters, that's it for now. Keep your standards high, your spirits neat, and your team tighter than your forecast. Catch you next week on the Post Shift Podcast.